Hello. Welcome to Reinvent Your Impact, where I share advice and actionable skills every day to help you become a better, more confident woman in leadership. I'm Dr. Geneva, leadership expert, and I believe with the right mindset and skills, any woman can positively influence teams, communities, and causes they care about. And you don't need a fancy title to lead change. Whether you run a company or a club, you coach a kid's team, you organize volunteers, or you lead a church, or in your community, or in your family, you can grow and share your gifts. And so, my goal is to give tools to turn your influence into greater impact and to make those choices and encourage others' talents and create needed progress on issues that are big and small, but affect you and your community and your family and what you believe in. When women lead confidently through their strengths, families, organizations, and communities thrive. So today's lesson shares how leaders can hit the refresh button to approach familiar skills with fresh curiosity and humility. By pretending we don't already know it all, we stretch our knowledge, we expand our knowledge to spark personal reinvention. Well, what am I talking about? Let's first get one of my favorite quotes from one of my favorite people, Oprah Winfrey, who said, "We can't become what we need to be by remaining what we are." Now, see, I think Oprah was talking about cultivating our beginner's mindset. Okay, so you may be asking me, Dr. Geneva, well, what is a beginner's mindset? And that's what we're going to talk about. That's the lesson for today. Well, think about it this way. When you first learned how to drive, everything was new, it was scary, it was kind of like, wow, you were you were doing something that you were excited about doing, but you really didn't know how to do it. And you really obsessed over some of the basics like how to brake, adjusting your mirrors, how to look around, all of those things. And if somebody, while you were trying to drive, just starting out, if somebody swooped into your lane, you panic, wouldn't you? Think back. But after driving for years, hardly any thought goes into changing lanes or parking maneuvers, right? You can size up what's happening with the traffic. You jump in the car, you really don't think about it. You push the button to start it, you stop automatically. You know the right things to do, and you instinctively do it given your experience. Well, a beginner's mindset and cultivating that mindset to think like a beginner challenges us as leaders to temporarily hit reset on our expertise. And so, what it suggests is that you approach familiar situations with like you a novice or it's your first time. I remember when I became the first female CEO of a major multi-million dollar organization, and I had been in the organization for about more than a decade. And I started at the bottom position and worked my way up. And so when I first stepped into the position, shoot, I knew everything. I'd been in the organization forever, it seemed like. But I decided to approach my position as if I didn't know anything, that I wanted to learn. So that began a whole series of conversations I had with people, staff, donors, investors, people in the community. Like I didn't know anything because I wanted to hear and listen. And I approached things with this beginner's mindset. And again, it gave me this fresh curiosity. And it really is a little scary at times, but it helped stimulate my growth because I was listening and I was hearing new things with different eyes. And so today's lesson is really helping us rediscover the power of not already knowing everything, of getting into the habit of asking endless questions without embarrassment, of fumbling in spaces where we normally are masters. Okay? Do you understand what I'm saying? And returning to these beginner stages really stretches our ability and keeps us flexible and open and learning and continuously learning and being fully arrived at anything. And really, that's what Oprah is telling us because she is sharing this idea of encouraging personal growth through openness to learning versus being rigid or stagnant. And she says that really sticking rigidly to what we know shuts down roots to enter to reinvent ourselves. You know, it blocks the way to reinvention. And so, if we want to evolve our influence, we need to embrace a beginner's mindset to explore unfamiliar territory so really we can become better leaders. So, I'd really like to know what you think about this. Do you believe that approaching familiar situations with a beginner's mindset, like you don't know it all, as a leader can enhance your ability to be a better leader by opening up and being curious? Because that's what Oprah is suggesting to us, that we can't become what we need to be by remaining what we used to be. And so I'd love to have your comments on that. Let me know how you feel about that, what you think about. So here are the 3 points that I wanted to make regarding Oprah's wisdom that she uh, leaves with us. The first is it's important to identify where those areas are, those assumptions are that perhaps limit our growth, that those times where we think we know it all and we got it going on. And perhaps we're even rejecting new opportunities or new skills because we're not considering those. We think that, for example, our years of experience in leading or managing teams means there's nothing left to learn, particularly when we're managing younger generations, because we know it all. Now, I know we are at a point in our careers where we've got so much wisdom and experience, and you be hearing me all the time um, telling you to leverage your wisdom, your experience, because it counts and it matters. And I ain't moving off from that. What I'm suggesting to you, however, is that there are those situations where you can enhance your leadership skills by cultivating a beginner's mindset, like you don't have all the information, that you don't know it all. And it puts you in a mindset to ask questions, to be curious, even if you know the stuff. Like I was saying in my example, I mean, I'd been with the organization for 19 years. I'd been in every position. I knew everything up and down, all around. But the insights that I gained by approaching this new major position by asking questions, being curious, listening. It really shaped and formed the leadership that I put out there and became quite successful. So I want you to think about first identifying those assumptions about where we think we know everything and how we can apply it. Secondly, I'd like you to consider reaching out and finding individuals who have perhaps different perceptions than you do. You understand what I mean? Um, oh, thank you so much and welcome. It's so good to see you, Sean. How are you? And isn't that a great quote from Oprah? You know, she has so many, but that one is such a great one. And hello, Shanae. Thank you so much for joining. And if any of you have comments or you want to share your thinking, please leave it in here. And if you're interested in really taking your reinvention to the next level, join me every Wednesday at 9 o'clock right here. And in fact, today, if you're watching on the live, today I'm going to be talking about the 7 steps to reinvent your personal transformation for your career. So if you're a professional, hey, we're talking transformation and reinvention. I'm going to share my blueprint secrets with you. So let's think a little bit more about the conversation that Oprah suggests to us. On that second point I was making, seek people with different perspectives. So, in other words, a perfect one is if you are managing a team of younger people, trust, and they're millennials, and you're a Gen X or a baby boomer, those millennials, they have some different ideas. And push yourself to find out what those ideas are. And maybe they do something creatively, like how do they check in with their teams or with their peers? You may pick up some new methods of checking in with your people to find out how things are going through watching younger folk or people who have different perspectives. So that's the second point I want to make. Intentionally seek out folk who do things different than you do. Okay. And then the third is I really want you to explore and look at your leadership skills themselves as if you're brand new. So you're saying, Dr. Geneva, what you talking about? So pick something um, like perhaps listening, which is a very important skill for any leader to listen. And you may think that I'm a pretty good listener, but what I want you to do is I want you to think about that skill and really go deep, press yourself, challenge yourself. Are you the best listener that you can be? And revisit. So, what I'm suggesting is that you revisit some of those listening skills and see what's new. For example, search the internet, Google, what's new in active listening skills, for example, and see if there's some, new research, new techniques, or what have you that you can perhaps use to even bolster what you already have. So, in other words, if you think you're the greatest listener ever, I love it for ego purposes and building your confidence. I ain't mad at you. What I'm suggesting is while you're doing that, you can also be checking out what the latest research is and the latest skills are to even boost even more your leadership ability. And why can you do that? Because you've cultivated this beginner's mindset, because you've moved, like Oprah is saying, we can't be what we need to be if we're still remaining where we are. So even if we see ourselves as the best listener and have spent years developing our listening skills, what I'm suggesting to you, and what Oprah suggests as well, is that you can always be 1% better. And so, one of the techniques is developing this beginner's mindset approach to, mm, I'm breaking down things here, to approach beginner's mindset. You know what I'm talking about. Approach to enhancing your leadership skills. Well, okay. So, what did you think? Any possibilities open up today in this conversation about beginner thinking? And so, I really want you today to go out and find three, just three sources of input that have, some distinctly different, refreshing new perspectives. Because again, cultivating a beginner's mindset takes some practice. So go find some stuff out there that's different, that gives you a fresh perspective. Maybe in your reading, maybe something you see on CNN, maybe it's listening to what's happening in your office or your workplace today. Whatever, I want you to find three different, refreshing perspectives and just settle into that for a moment as you cultivate your beginner's mindset. That's the lesson for today. If you all are interested, if you're on live, and I want to say hello to you again, if you want to dive a little deeper into professional transformation, if you're on live in just a few moments, I'm going to be sharing a 7-step blueprint to personal and professional transformation. So stay tuned for that. If you're on the replay, you can watch it replay right here on YouTube where you are. I'd love for you to join me. You can subscribe while you're at it too. All right, I'll see you next time. Tomorrow, in fact. Have a good one.